Talk about payability. So if you're looking for a business funding, payability could be a great source of funding for your business this year. But is it really worth it? Let's talk about it, okay? First of all, one thing I want to say here is that when you think about payability, I want you to think about e-commerce, okay? So if you're not in e-commerce, like if you have a brick and mortar, a physical store, you cannot actually get funded through payability because payability really want to focus on e-commerce, specifically Amazon and Walmart sellers. Okay, so this is something that you really need to really think about now. Payability has expanded in the last few years, especially during COVID and after COVID. They've expanded their niches. I mean, their niche, if you will, their target audience to e-commerce sellers who are selling, let's say, via Shopify, for instance, Newegg. Okay, so that's kind of cool. So that's really good. Etsy, eBay, what have you. So that's pretty good. Okay, and the cool thing about payability is that the company has two main products. So you have what they call instant access, and they have instant advance. Okay, and that's kind of cool because those two products give you some kind of flexibility in terms of how you want to fund your small business, your e-commerce store. And you can also use the payability seller card. Okay, it's actually a type of card like a debit card that allows you to have access to a lot of cash real fast. Okay, so that's pretty good. So how does payability work? Let's quickly talk about that. So if you sell products on an e-commerce platform like Amazon or Walmart, you could potentially wait weeks for payouts from your sales, right? The delay can cause interruptions to cash flow and limit your growth, especially if you are in a very competitive niche. So you have two products. You have the instant access, and then you have the instant advice. Those products. So when you think about instant access, basically you will get 80% of your previous day's marketplace sales available instantly. So you can access the funds in your payability account. The remaining 20% becomes available as the marketplace releases funds from your payout. So you can get funds each day, even on weekends. You need to give a 30-day notice to unenroll in the program. Now, payability charges you a 2% fee of the previous month's sales to use the product. Okay, it's the only fee that you as a seller have to pay. There is no origination or prepayment fee, so that's really fantastic. Okay, and as a seller, if you're doing more than 100K in monthly sales revenue, you might qualify for a discount. That's for the instant access. So what about instant advance? So this instant advance operates like a merchant cash advance, but with some unique features. So as a seller, you get an upfront amount based on your sales history, which is then paid off with future sales. As a seller, you typically get 75% to 150% of the previous month, up to $250,000. You then repay the loan with a percentage of future sales, usually between 12% and 25% until the loan is actually repaid. And fees actually range between 0.5% to 1% per week. And paying the loan back early saves on fees, and there is no prepayment penalty. So let me talk to you about the seller card and payability account. So payability also offers a card exclusively for e-commerce sellers. And so this card is actually compatible with both of their financing products, so the instant advance and instant access. And so instead of transferring the money to your bank account, you can use the seller card as a debit card for your payability funds. You can then use the card like a debit card for most transactions. And the seller card, and that's a good thing, the seller card features 2% cash back on all purchases. And this is a physical card that you can carry in your wallet or even use online. Okay. Now, how do you qualify for payability? Let's talk about that real fast. So one of the most significant advantages the payability offers is the ease of qualifying. There is no minimum personal or business credit score requirement, and the company does not run a credit check. Okay. All you need to qualify is you have to meet the sales numbers required and pass a standard background check. Okay. So let me quickly talk to you about that real fast. So if you think about instant access qualification, you got to have at least 3 months of selling history, and you got to have a minimum of 10 grand a month in sales. That's it. For instant advanced qualifications, you have to be at least 9 months Okay, you got to have at least 9 months of selling history, and your average monthly sales has to be 50 grand. So this is something to really think about. So again, we're talking here about Amazon, Newegg, Shopify, Walmart, and so on and so forth. Okay, and so it's all about your revenue. For you to be how do I say it, to qualify, you just got to have the revenue, because payability seeks to solve the cash flow issues that prevent sellers from reaching their full potential on those platforms. Okay, so that's something to really think about. And one thing I want to say real fast is that you are getting access to 75 to 80% of your sales, which is really good because you can reinvest that into your business and get funded real fast. So how do you apply to payability? So first of all, just go to the website. Okay, you will provide basic information about yourself and your sales revenue by month. Because see, remember, they only care about revenue. They're not going to ask you for your social security number. They're not going to ask you for your business status score. They only care about your revenue. Okay, let's say 90% of your revenue. Okay, and when you apply to payability, you will connect your marketplace API to the payability dashboard, and so that's going to take you 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, and so that's pretty good. And also, one thing I want to say here is that you actually can be approved and funded within 24 hours. So that's how fast the payability sort of turnaround is. Okay, and you just get your money. That's really that's as fast as possible. You get your money. So it's the same thing whether you apply for instant access or you apply for instant advance. Okay, so that's really fast. Now, one thing I want you to really keep in mind is that payability makes the funds available to you real fast. Okay, but you also have to make sure that you are paying on a consistent basis, right? For them to recoup their investments, because at the end of the day, they are tracking everything anyway. Because they have now that you have connected your API to their dashboard, they see the money that's coming in your Amazon seller account or your Shopify seller account or your Walmart or your eBay, right? They see everything. Okay, and just be aware of the fact that you are paying fees that are kind of high, though. I mean, anytime you have such a low barrier in terms of funding, they're not checking your credit history. You bet that the APR will be really high. Okay, especially when we talk about very strict, very risky niches like online niches, e-commerce niches. So, what are the advantages of payability here? If you think about payability, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of payability real fast? Let's quickly talk about that. Now, one thing I want to say here is that when you think about payability, you are looking at a unique solution in the e-commerce space, right? So if you are an online seller and you've been in this industry for a while, you know how hard it is to actually get funded. Because see, banks and credit unions sometimes they prefer to finance traditional businesses, because somehow this whole online thing, those traditional lenders are not really comfortable with it. Okay, so you want to have a lender who understands online selling, who understands e-commerce marketplaces, and is willing to actually bank on those entrepreneurs who are actually riding the e-commerce wave. Okay, so that's something that payability is doing. So if you are an Amazon and Amazon or online seller in general, you actually understand that payability is really bridging a gap here. Okay, so their instant advance product, for instance, takes the traditional merchant cash advance model and adds some unique features to customize it for marketplace seller businesses. Okay, so you can use instant advance to grow your online sales business real fast. And another advantage is that the application itself is very quick and easy. Can you imagine that? 10 to 15 minutes and you're done. You get your cash. You can get your cash actually within 24 hours on the same day. If you apply, let's say in the morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, you probably can be funded by 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so that's kind of cool because credit approval becomes very easy if you meet the sales history and revenue requirements, okay? So that's really good. So just focus on those two elements. Sales history, you got to be in business for at least 3 months or 9 months, depending on whether you go for instant access or instant advance, okay? And you got to meet the revenue requirements. And also, you have to really understand that you have convenience also in terms of the Payability seller Visa card. So the seller card gives you a 2% cash back on all purchases and lets you use your funds immediately. So instead of waiting for your Payability funds to transfer to the bank, the seller card lets you use the funds in your account real fast. So that's an idea of all the advantages you have with Payability. What about the disadvantages? Well, the cost. This is kind of high. Can you imagine that? I mean, you have a weekly instant advance fee of 0.5 to 1%, and instant access fees coming from 2% of gross sales, not net sales. Gross sales. That's a lot of cash right there. So you can end up paying a decent amount of money for their services if you think about it. Okay. Also, so that's the cost. Number two, you have also the difficulty that is embedded in terms of you trying to get out of the program because you need to give a 30-day notice to cancel enrollment. Okay. I mean, this wait may be too long, especially if you are unhappy with the fees. Okay. And Payability also has some potentially confusing terms and fees. In particular, the report causes some confusion, and you actually may be overcharged on fees. So just be aware of those things. Also, you might have frozen accounts. Okay, so this is something to really think about. I mean, Payability will continue to assess fees when your account is frozen on any given marketplace. Okay, so that's something to really keep in mind when you sign up with Payability. So, long story short, if you think about Payability, what are the pros and cons you need to really keep in mind this year? So let's first talk about the positives here. So think about Payability as a funding service specialized for marketplace sellers. This is kind of rare in this space though. Like if you're an Amazon seller or a Shopify seller and you're trying to really get some extra cash, you don't have a lot. I think I just told you that you don't have a lot of banks and credit unions willing to help you out because they don't understand the business model. Okay. And Payability does. So Payability is one of the unique services specialized for marketplace sellers. And you have also your cash. You can get your cash fast. Very easy application. Okay. There are no additional fees. They don't check your FICO score. They don't check your business credit score, your PayDesk score, your Equifax business score, your Experian business score. They don't check none of that. Okay. They don't even ask you for your social security number. Like I said, the only thing they do is they only do a small background check to make sure that you don't have any problem with the law, whatever. Okay. You also have discounts for prepayment. Okay. So that's really good. If you pay real fast, Payability will work with you to ease the pain, quote unquote, the pain. And you also have mostly positive customer reviews. Okay. That's really important to really mention. On the flip side, if you think about Payability, it's an e-commerce marketplace sort of niche, right? So for now, it only works with Amazon, Newegg, Walmart, and Shopify. They're adding new marketplaces. I heard they're adding Etsy. Okay, so that could be another possibility. If you're an Etsy seller, you could be really happy that Payability will soon be working for you. And you also have potentially expensive fees. So see, the thing is, sometimes when you're an e-commerce seller or just a brick and mortar seller and you're looking for funding, it's not just about the funding itself, right? It's also about how much that funding will cost you. So Payability does have potentially expensive fees, so just be aware of that. And also remember that you could have also some technical glitches with funds disappearing. Okay, so that's something to really think about. And so it's one of those things where you want to contact Payability to make sure that everything is fine before you actually enroll with them. Of course, when it comes to enrollment, don't forget that you have 30 days. Okay, 30 days to notify them before you cancel. So one thing you need to really understand is that, do I recommend Payability? Oh yeah, I definitely recommend Payability. That's for sure. Okay, this company has been around for a while. This is a legit company. They have a lot of reviews on Trustpilot, on a triple B. Okay, Better Business Bureau. So that's really good, and people love the fact that their payability, the company can finance you real fast. Okay, they don't have a lot of like, they're not really complicating the whole process, so you can be funded within a day. Like I said, they can actually approve you within hours. That's really cool. And also, you also need to understand that this is a company that funds small business owners, e-commerce sellers across all the 50 states and the District of Columbia. Okay, I mean, if you talk about online business, it doesn't matter where you are at, right? As long as you are actually you're legit, no problem. They will fund you. And but just remember that there are a few things that Payability can improve. Okay, they're working on that. Okay, and also you can also like, Payability is not really a business loan because it doesn't charge interest or has standard loan features like origination fees or early payment fees, for instance. Okay, instead, Payability remains a custom financing solution for Amazon sellers, Walmart sellers, among others. Okay, so their main product, as I explained to you, is instant access, and then you also have instant advance. Okay, so instant access, you have the funds actually available right away, and for the other one, you have a more streamlined process. Okay, so this is really important. So just remember, you got to be an e-commerce supplier. If you're not an e-commerce, you cannot actually be funded through Payability. Okay, so if you have bad credit, if you have good credit, no problem. Okay, you could be funded, no problem. Okay, and you can use Payability to do everything you can think about. Payability doesn't care. Okay, you can use Payability to get extra inventory, to bring on additional staff. Okay, that's totally fine. They're fine with that. You can actually invest in other areas of the business. That's totally fine too. They don't have a problem with that. So anything that is actually legit that you can invest in your business, Payability will work with you, and they have no problem with that. One thing I want to tell you here is that, just remember that maybe it's just better to call customer service before you actually enroll with them, to ask for questions, and just be sure that you are on the same page with them before actually sharing your data with them. Okay, because like I said, the 30-day early notification is a little problematic to me. But hey, listen, if you need funding and Payability is willing to give you that funding, that's totally fine. So what's the epilogue here? In today's conversation, I spoke to you about Payability. This was a review of the company. I explained to you what the company does, what it is, okay, the pros and cons, how to qualify for it, how to apply to it. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.